Minute now. Oh,
so we're live. And today we have got Aarti Parmar, and it's Aarti's first LinkedIn Live. So
it is.
Aarti is, I was going to say, you do so much networking, you do so much presenting, you do so many workshops and stuff. I'm surprised this is your first LinkedIn Live, but anyway, it's amazing.
But thank you for the opportunity. Like Debbie said, you've popped my cherry.
Yeah, we've popped your LinkedIn Live cherry. I love it. It's always about trying new things, isn't it? And seeing what works and what doesn't work. That's part of running a business. So welcome.
Testing things out. Yeah, so welcome to the Growth CoLab Show. Aarti is one of our lovely members. I think she's been with us since the beginning. I'm pretty sure she has since December last year. And Aarti's a brand strategist. And, you know, Aarti, we should actually talk a bit later on about your the Boost Your Brand post that you suggested, because that has been doing super well. But we're going to talk to you today about creating an authentic and meaningful brand. So, yeah, just, you know, talk away. We'd love to hear from you. And Debbie and I will interject and ask questions and, you know.
Sure, absolutely. You know me, I can talk about brand all day long, but it's also about then how do you bring the brand to life, and what is it that actually makes it authentic and meaningful? So, you know, it is very, very important as business owners. And I must say, you know, if you run a business, you are a brand. A lot of people don't see themselves as brands. So that's definitely one mindset to definitely get into, is like, I am a brand, you know, whether I'm a personal brand, business brand, both, you are a brand. And people will start seeing you as a brand as soon as you start putting, you know, posts out there, your website. Consider yourself as a brand. Even a one-person business is a brand in that sense. So, you know, it is really important then to sort of start thinking, well, you know, I'm not the only one. You know, all of us, in terms of what we're doing, we're not the only ones doing what we're doing. We know that there's a lot of, you know, brand strategists, designers, you know, people out there, coaches doing what they are doing as well. So actually, what is it that helps to differentiate and make your brand, you know, authentic and meaningful? And having that insight and understanding just helps that journey of communicating it and marketing so much more easier and more in flow with who you are and who you want to work with eventually.
Yeah, I like that idea of flow, because I think when I first started running businesses, I kind of created a brand that I thought that other people wanted externally. So more professional looking, wasn't called Debbie Doodah, you know, had a great WordPress website, you know, quite corporate. And I created that brand thinking that's what people wanted, but it never felt like it was part of me, and it wasn't authentically part of me. And I think it's really important that you bring yourself to your brand, because you're kind of living and breathing it, aren't you? And if you're trying to be somebody else, then there's always going to be a bit of a disconnect. And definitely for me, when I stepped into who I was and was able to show that more, I was more successful and kind of made more money. But it takes courage, doesn't it? I think, especially if you are a solo entrepreneur or that personal brand, or even if you have a product, to kind of allow yourself to be vulnerable, to be seen.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, it's not only, yes, courage as well, but understanding is really, really key. Because when you really understand who you are as a brand, what you stand for, why you are doing what you are doing in the way that you do it, it feels right for you. So then you start feeling that confidence, you start stepping into your own courage. And yes, you know, there's running a business in so many ways, you're constantly stepping out of your comfort zone. So if you're going to step out of it, at least do it in a knowing way, or when you're doing it in a knowing way, it, you know, you feel like, okay, but I know that I'm, you know, my brand is this and I'm serving this kind of target audience. So it just makes it that bit more like, okay, let's do this, you know, and I'll take that leap of faith and, you know, do a podcast, do a talk, whatever it is.
So Aarti, like for people that don't, you know, because I remember when I first started, and even though I've got a background in kind of marketing and media, my background wasn't in the sort of brand side of things. I would get confused when people were talking about personal brands and what is a brand. Could you just go back and like give a really, you know, brief explanation of, you know, what makes a brand? Is it is it your values? Is it, you know, what is it that defines someone's brand, just so that people could be really clear on what that actually means?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a combination of different things that makes a brand a brand. So I do have a 10-step brand framework that I take people through. But part of that framework is understanding your brand's purpose. Why you are doing what you are doing, beyond generating profit. Then there is your brand values. Understanding your vision. What are you actually really working towards? You've got that whole sort of Stephen Covey, begin with the end in mind. I come across a lot of business owners, and I've been there myself, where I haven't began with the end in mind, and it was a bit like, oh, I do everything. I do design, branding, marketing, and I put myself out there, and I didn't really have direction. It was more about chasing another invoice as opposed to building a brand. And then also what started to happen was that I'd start getting jobs that I didn't actually enjoy doing. People sort of saying, can you look after my Trustpilot account? Can you do my email marketing? And it's like, oh, no, not really. It's not something that I really enjoy. And then, it was about stepping back and actually looking into my own journey of like, where am I heading with all of this? What do I really want to achieve? So, really looking in and understanding that vision definitely gives much more sort of focus and a direction to what you actually are working towards, which will then help you to understand where you're going to focus that time, money, effort, resources, and all of those kind of things. And then, the other things like your target audience, you have to know who you are absolutely serving. What are their pain points, desires, fears, concerns, that kind of thing. Yes, you can do the whole demographic thing, and which is good to know, but it needs to go deeper, a lot deeper than that. And then looking at things like the positioning, perception, messaging, and right at the very end, and tone of voice, and then right at the very end is the brand identity. So, a lot of businesses start with, oh, I'm going to get my logo done first, and then I'm going to go out marketing and do my website. Completely, a more sort of sequential approach to that is more effective, is starting with the brand and understanding the actual identity of the brand, then creating the branding and your logo and fonts, color palettes, and all of those kind of things, and the key messaging around it, and understanding obviously the USP, or as I like to also say, key beneficial strengths, and then bringing that into platforms such as your website, your social media, and all of those kind of things, and then taking it into the marketing space, because now you'll have a much clearer idea of who you are serving. So therefore, which platforms and channels are they using? And you're now marketing your brand as opposed to just marketing, in that sense.
Yes, it is. It's super important. And I think this is a stage that a lot of people miss. And I can understand why, because, like I work with a lot of sort of early stage businesses, seed funded founders, probably similar to some of yours, Aarti. And, you've got a great product or service, and you're getting investment, and you're doing all those things. And often they haven't actually had a chance, or they don't actually know that they need to sort of step back, because you don't know what you don't know, do you? You need to sort of step back and think, actually, what are my values? So that's something that a lot of my clients won't have done when they first come to me, and even bigger businesses as well. I think no one sort of said to them, that's really important to understand your values, because you need to inject them at every point in the business and in the customer journey. And, those things that you're basically saying are the fundamentals, like don't spend any money on marketing until you've got your fundamentals correct.
These kind of things will also dictate and determine what kind of initiatives that you put out there, or what kind of marketing campaigns that you do, who you may collaborate with, or what you may sponsor, or what kind of Facebook advertising you do, or what kind of even free download you do, or what kind of newsletter you put out there.
I think there's like a need to get it all done quickly, isn't there, at the beginning as well? There's like, I need to make money. What's the return on investment? I need to get money, and let's get a logo, let's do all that stuff. And it feels like there's like a real sense of urgency when you're at that really beginning stage. And I think that's why people rush through this process. And I know with values as well, like I've worked with people, and maybe they're creating values that it's like almost like lip service. Like they'll say things like trust and integrity, which is just boring, because everybody says that they have integrity and they're trustworthy. It doesn't make you stand out from the competition. And is that actually something integrally important to you as the company, or is that something that you think people want to hear? So I think it's also like really giving yourself that space to explore. So you're not just creating something that sounds good, because then you'll end up in the melee of all the competition also saying, we have integrity, you can trust us, because there's another layer deeper than that, isn't there? And I think if you can get that right, then you start to stand out from the competition, which is so important, because there's so many, like you said, there's lots of coaches, there's lots of shampoo brands, there's lots of wine merchants, like there's lots of everything. Like we have an abundance of businesses and loads joining the marketplace every month. You know, COVID has been such a massive upsurge in people kind of launching their own businesses, that actually just working with somebody like you and taking that step back to take the time, it's going to save you money and time in the long run, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Not seeing those short-term things, start seeing what your business is a long-term like project, or, you know, what are my long-term goals and that type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, just having, coming back to, you know, brand values. And one of the things I always say to my clients is, one of the things that is going to make your brand authentic and meaningful are your brand values. You know, those values is not just something that gets plucked out of the air. It's about what's really important to you, you know, really important to you in terms of how you want to be seen, what you want to be known for, how you're going to be guiding and making decisions, you know, whether that's as a team, whether that's as an individual. And those values have actually come from a place of your own journey, beliefs, and all of those kind of things. So that's not something that can be pretended about, or, you know, and ones that do that it will kind of prevail in, you know, that the truth prevails, right? If people are sort of saying these are our values but not living it, you will come across businesses, you know, like that.
Yeah, and that doesn't sit well, does it, when they're saying those values and then you only have to sort of, what I say, sort of scrape behind or whatever, but you know, you just have a little bit of a deep dig and delve, and you see that actually they're not living by their values at all. That's not the way they treat their suppliers or their clients or their team, you know, or it's so important, isn't it? It's so important. And I think you know, with it is, I think there's that thing, isn't there? When you're setting up a business and you don't have lots of money, it can feel like a really big investment, and it is that happy medium, isn't it? Because you know, they've also got to have budget to do the Facebook ads or to do the strategic partnerships or to do other things. And so, you know, is brand something that's like a moving part? Like, can you just start with something really basic at the beginning? I mean, obviously, you know, you've got to answer all these questions, but for people who don't have budgets to invest a lot in,
there's lots of really great resources, you know, nowadays online as well. So, you know, there are lots of free things that are available out there. Yeah, and you know, they're here and there and whatever and stuff. But obviously, people like myself, brand strategists and other strategists, we know we've got some sort of process or framework to take people through. So it, you know, it fast tracks their journey. But yeah, you know, if you're on a budget, yeah, there's lots of information that's out there. Again, it comes back down to taking the time, you know, to invest, and to taking the, you know, time to invest and the effort to actually look inwardly, you know, around their brand, because yeah, there's amazing amounts of resources out there.
So the logo and the brand, you know, the color palette and all of those things that sort of come out at the end, those are essentially less important, are you saying, than the work that's done up front? If, you know, because I suppose you can do that work, you're saying you could essentially do that work on your own with a bit of guidance, whereas, you know, getting a good logo and your brand guidelines, that all does cost quite a bit of money, doesn't it?
It does. And, you know, it also comes back down to what's important to you. You know, having a strong visual identity is also part of solid brand communications. And, you know, creating that kind of consistency and creating that well, I guess that look and feel that people relate to and know straight away. You know, there's times, I'm sure, where we're scrolling on, whether it's Instagram or whatever, and before you've even come across the person, you see a color or the logo, you're like, okay, that's that person's, you know, you're about to read that person, that business, that brand post in that sense. So, you know, getting that recognition in people's mind is important. But like I always say, you know, it is a brand that gives a logo meaning, not a logo that gives a brand meaning.
Yeah, they're like the assets that you get once you've done that piece of work, aren't they? That almost then signify those values, that story, the customers, your mission, your purpose. I think also those assets almost tell that story visually.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
Because
So,
we read things we read images faster than we read words, don't we? So I think like color palettes or fonts, or my dad's in a band, and it was like a rock band, but he'd used like a font that was for a country and western, and it was like, this is all a mess, you look like a country and western fan. Like we read things into fonts even, don't we?
Yeah.
Like, that's this and this is that. And to get that quick recognition, you do have to do the work in the beginning, because otherwise it has no meaning. It's like, why did you pick orange? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
well,
And
what does that mean to you,
Yeah. And it does take time, because I've had conversations where, people are like, oh, I want people to start, recognizing my branding and stuff straight away. And it's like, well, no, it also depends on,
yeah, that's not going to happen.
You're putting things out there or whatever. Mike didn't just get to the tick just by, having that and just putting it on traders and stuff. It was, they've done a lot of work to get to that recognition, and consistency is massive in that. And knowing and having the patience, it does take time to build a brand. It really does. It evolves. Things may change, but what's also really important is having that understand that core, in terms of coming back to that why. Why are you doing what you are doing? Because direction may change, different opportunities may come about, you get thrown off sometimes in business, and then come back to that, actually, why am I doing what I'm doing? Oh yeah, it's to to accomplish this or to do this and stuff like that, and it brings it back together.
So who are your ideal clients? Who are the kind of clients that you're really helping with their brand strategy?
Yeah, so it's mainly the owner-managed businesses. I love working with them. Whether they're a one-person business or a team of 50 or so, it's that sort of passion and ambition that they have, and they are led by their journey and their experiences and stuff like that. So bringing that to life, bringing their vision, or first and foremost, defining and helping them to unravel and unpack that, and helping them to realize what they actually have in front of them, and it's going to be and there's a strategic plan to it, and just seeing their sort of face light up. And then not only through the discovery session, but also years on, when I've then gone and seen them, they've won awards, they've written books and stuff like that, and I'm like, oh, that was brilliant. Because I remember when we did the vision part of the exercise, and some of those growth goals was about winning awards, writing books, delivering TEDx talks and stuff like that. So that it doesn't just happen overnight. It does take time, and they're mainly in the service based industry. So I really have worked with a whole variety of businesses that, from estate agents to clinics in Harley Street to wedding planners to child psychologists to coaches, consultants, business services and stuff like that. So the fundamentals are still the same. I've worked across real different multi sectors, and like I said, different size businesses. When I ran a creative agency in Malaysia, from public listed property developers to, like I said, the one-person business, the fundamentals of a brand still need to be there. It's just like building a house. If you have a solid foundation, whatever you build on top is going to be solid and strong.
Yeah.
Same with a business. Have a strong brand foundation, then whatever else you build on top, it will be solid.
It's so interesting, isn't it? And also, and this is a totally different topic, but what we were talking about when I did my mini MBA in marketing is the importance of the sort of the brand marketing and the sort of performance-based direct response marketing. And you can't it's the importance of having both. Both. You can't just do performance-based ads without doing any kind of brand advertising and brand awareness campaigns, can you? So and obviously for that you need to have a very strong, clear brand.
Absolutely. And one of the things I also say to my clients, coming back to values, actually, is that you are successfully living your values when they're being reflected back to you. So, for example, in a testimonial, or somebody's written on your LinkedIn post or something along those kind of lines, and they may not say the exact words, but that's what I sort of say to my clients is, aim to live your values, and you'll know that you're living them when they get reflected, and you're successfully living them, breathing, walking, talking them, and your team are, when they get reflected back to you. So, that is a good sort of goal to have in the business.
I love that. We keep these short and sweet, Aarti. So what would be great, just a quick final question from Debbie and I. Obviously, you're part of Growth CoLab, and we'd love to know what you get from being part of a group of what we call inspirational women.
Yeah, I absolutely love, as you know, being part of Growth CoLab, and I'm part of a few different ones. And what I really stood out to me, one is that initially it was around sort of creatives and consultants, and I was like, right, I want to be in this space, with others who are doing sort of similarish. And also, for me, when I'm networking, I love connecting people, whether it's for myself, whether it's for others. And Growth CoLab gives us that opportunity to be able to be useful in that sense. But also, what I've really loved is the learning and the sharing, and just coming back to the authenticity of the people in it. It's just been great in terms of getting exposure into different parts of my business. You guys doing the mini talks and stuff like that. The breakout rooms have been invaluable. I've made some amazing connections from it, and done my one-to-ones. As I say, networking isn't just about turning up into the room, it's also about what you do after it. So had some fantastic conversations and connections, and then this opportunity.
I know, your first LinkedIn Live, and it's been full of so much insight. And I honestly, this is something that I'm going to say to all my clients, my new clients, to watch. Just you've got to understand the importance of getting those basics right. If you haven't done the work on your brand, it is very difficult, because that's the fundamentals. It's very difficult when you come further along the line to have that clarity, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I say, if the brand isn't clear on the outside, it will never be clear on if the brand isn't clear on the inside, it will never be clear on the outside. I better get that one right.
We knew what you meant.
Yeah, it's been so lovely, Aarti, having you on. And
thank you.
We were just saying, actually, I think there's another little mini talk to be done on networking, isn't there? Because you're such a prolific networker, and we all really believe in the power of collaboration and connection and networking, and it's all been vital for our business. And I think it'd be really interesting to have that discussion, and maybe we can put another person in too.
Yeah, networking your brand.
Networking your brand. I love it.
So we'll say